Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve Ramona and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose. Yes, serving others, and yes, achieving success. We all want to succeed. We believe that when we approach our work and our lives with a servant's heart, we can truly make a difference. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to make an impact in your world. So take this incredible guest I have, learn from him, inspire to share with other people. Whether an entrepreneur, community leader, or simply someone looking to bring more purpose into your daily life, this podcast is here to support you. And while you're listening to this incredible guest, I want you to think about how you're going to serve today and what impact you'll create today. Today, let's not wait till tomorrow. Let's start today and just keep doing it every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Picture yourself joining an elite community of thriving business owners from a variety of industries, all working together to create a powerful referral marketplace. It's an incredible opportunity to expand your network and elevate your business to new heights. With that being said, any information on that, reach out to me. But impact and a servant's heart's a big part of this podcast, probably most of this podcast. Talking to my guest before the show, he's going to bring this out in spades. Networking, connecting, and being a servant's heart. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve, it's great to be here.
Kind of get you on a calm down there a little bit to get you ready to roll. Interesting. Your background is so interesting. You went from construction to crypto. Both industries are large, but what drew you to crypto and why did you leave construction?
You know, a big part of it was we were looking for something more passive, and we had done a bunch of real estate endeavors and 5 or 6 different types of real estate based businesses, construction being our cash cow at the time. And we were looking for something that was passive or semi-passive. We were looking for something with high ROI, something that was a little bit riskier, or at least so we thought at the time, because we've got the safest industry. We wanted something with a little bit more risk and something with a little bit higher upside, and something that would provide significant tax benefits for us. My wife's a CPA, and so we said tax. We were looking for something that we can pour money into and have it be a write-off for us, and create wealth in a different way. And so we settled on that. What started as what we thought to be the riskiest asset, we're now like selling real estate to be more all in it, right? So it's, in our minds, it's become the safest asset we have, but one way or the other, it just, we've really enjoyed the time that it's provided for us, the growth that it's provided for us. What would take me dozens of employees in construction to do, we can do with 2 in the crypto space and the mining space. And so we really like the simplicity of our lives with it.
So risk is a unique word. It goes so many different ways. Talk about what your thoughts are on risk, especially with money.
I have the luxury of theoretical time, right? So I'm 39-ish. And so I theoretically, if the Lord wills, will have something to look, maybe as much as a few decades left. And so in a theoretical midlife journey, again, the Lord could take me tomorrow and I would praise him if he did. But if he doesn't, and I have a full life, then, if I lived at 80 or so, I might be about halfway there. And so I figured, let's try all of these risky things before I'm 40. And so my wife and I, when we first embarked on a full-time entrepreneurial journey, something like 7 or 8 years ago, we said, look, let's just try it all, and we're going to experience, and we want to work to learn, not work to earn. And if I have nothing to show for it at 40, that's great. I can always start over at 40 and go do a career. I've had several, W-2 careers before. I could go do a career, and you can go do a career. We both got our masters. We can go do something and put our 25 years in and retire at 65 in a theoretical, normal, career field.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we ended up falling in love with the journey on the way. And so now I don't know if either one of us would be willing to go back to a 9 to 5, but it acts like a mental umbrella underneath you to catch you, a mental parachute to catch you just in case. But I think at this point, I'm pretty sold on the entrepreneur piece.
Love the passion in your voice. And audience, that's a great lesson what Nathan just told you. And you notice the passion. He probably stayed with construction and made legacy money, because I know construction can be very profitable. A lot of work, but profit. My dad was a contractor for 40 years, so I know
Man.
the space. So it's and that was still back then. It's still hard as it is today. But talk about, why crypto and mining? There's a lot of stuff out there. It's like AI, so many different people talking about. What's your thoughts on it?
So crypto is interesting in that it is both the hardest and softest money on the planet. And what I mean by that is 99+% of cryptocurrency is either an unregistered security or a gamble on the future of a tech or a scam, just an outright scam coin or a lotto ticket. That's 99% of the space. And less than 1% of the space in terms of number of coins are actual, true, hardest money in the history of the world. Like, these are earth-shattering technologies that will become apparent in 20 years. Obviously, Bitcoin and Litecoin were the beginning of the new phase of money, just like the internet was the new phase of commerce. But right now it's not, because people clump all of these scams and frauds and all this other stuff in to this blanket term of cryptocurrency. And even, the misnomer of central bank digital currencies, right? CBDCs, they're clumped in there as a type of crypto, and they're not even close to crypto, right? So there's all these things that have that umbrella that add confusion to it. And so it took a year or so to really filter through. We mined dozens of coins, and then we kind of figured out, all right, this is hard wealth. This is real money. This is mathematically programmed to go up to an infinite price in terms of US dollars. That's what we want to be in. And so then we narrowed in on the Litecoin and Bitcoin space, and haven't looked back. And the more we go further down the road we get, the more hardcore sold on the idea we get.
So education sounds like it's very important in this space.
It's huge. It's really important. I mean, I've been scammed. I don't know anybody in the space that hasn't been scammed. Where anytime you send crypto, if you're not shaking hands with that individual before you start scratching your arm a little bit, saying, "Man, am I making? Is this a scam or is this real?" And but even my antenna's up as high as it goes. Like, I want to make sure I don't get scammed. And I got gotten right at once, but they got me once, and so thankfully it was a relatively small amount, but there is a lot of bad actors in space, but there's a lot of bad actors in the internet, and there were even more bad actors when the internet was first invented. So we're trying to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you forgive the poor euphemism, and so really trying to hone in on what is this thing of crypto, what's real wealth versus what are hope of wealth, and what are scams, and what are really a stock in a company that they're doing in an unregistered manner. And so trying to filter through that took probably a few years. I don't think I really became all in, like gung-ho Bitcoin and Litecoin only, until maybe we were in it about 3 years. And then I really, after bearing myself and studying, I said, look, I don't have to do anything fancy. I'm not smart enough to trade crypto, so I'm going to buy it, and it's going to sit there, and it's going to rot for 20 years, and that's the exit plan. There is no sell for US dollars as the exit plan. That Bitcoin and Litecoin are the exit plan. Yeah. And so it really took some education and learning to get to that point, though.
I love that you say crypto has bad actors. There's bad chiropractors, there's bad plumbers, there's, bad roofers. We've, some of us have run into it. That's being scammed as well. So I love that you put that, because we forget, we're like, because it's so woo-woo crypto, and it's not. It's just another industry, and you just need to be educated.
I've been scammed more by contractors than I would ever dream of being scammed by by subcontractors, by prime contractors, because I've been sub and prime, and by far the worst actors I've met. And so I've when I look at a relatively small singular scam in the crypto space, I'm just grateful it's a cleaner space in construction.
Yeah, amen. No, I love that. I love that you said that. So talk about Mini Mites. Great name for a company. I love it. When I first saw it, I'm like, that's pretty cool. What's your mission for Mini Mites?
So our goal is to create passive wealth for outside investors through a hard asset of a computer that generates the perfect dollar cost averaging into what we believe to be the hardest wealth that the planet has ever seen.
That's the simple as that. And passive means what?
So right now we have hundreds of computers running perfectly, and they're about an 8.5-hour drive from me. And so it's about as passive as it gets. All hundreds of my employees are very loyally working their butts off right now, and they're just all computers. And so that it allows us to, we have mines down here in Florida and mines up in North Carolina. And so it allows us to have that flexibility to go back and forth, and to make sure that we're growing and scaling at a reasonable pace. They say most businesses don't die of starvation, they die of indigestion. Right. So it's not, I can't get the work. It's, I got too much work now. How do I handle it? Yeah. Right. We've had companies die from that. Right. And so I personally have. And so a nice slow rate of growth. And we've just been really building. And instead of taking the profits out, we roll it back into more computers and more hash rate. Hash rate's a industry term for more computers, basically. So more computers and more hash rate and more growth and more facilities as we outgrow them. And it's been great.
I love it. And individuals down the road be able to do it on their own. You're going to show them how to do that and have a system to mine their own coin.
Correct. So we have a few different options. Again, we have a fund, but then we have people that will, host with us. So they want to buy the computers. They want to take on all of the risk, and they, and they'll pay a premium to have us manage their computers on their behalf. So we've got all kinds of different people that are involved. There's a handful of LLCs involved, again, from legal protection, and make sure that everybody's covered and make sure that everybody's paid out properly. And so it's a really neat thing coming from what was a more complex business environment, right? We had, dozens of LLCs and trusts and the ESAs and the HSAs and all these things for the tax purposes. And this has become a much more simple way of saying, hey, look, if here's access to this this avenue for revenue generation. If you'd like it, if this is for you, then here are some of the options that helps you get to where you're trying to go. And there's no right or wrong answer for anybody. It's, hey, you're on your path, and you might have different goals, and let's see if we can help you get there.
I love that you use the word simple. I was told by a very wealthy guy many years ago, simple most people can do. When it's hard, you start taking people out. Well, not a problem. It's not a big deal, but if you want mass appeal, it's got to be simple.
That's one of the things that I do think is another detriment to this industry specifically, is if you ask a crypto guy, which I wasn't, right? I'm a lowly contractor, right? So if you ask a crypto guy, what's mining? They're going to say, oh, it's solving complex algorithms. And you're like, well, I don't still understand what it is you're doing, because they're going into they're going to the hardware and software component instead of going to the end user, right? Whereas if you say, what's the internet do? Well, it connects people. Well, that's in one way, it is what the internet does. And then there's some other components of it. And so I like to describe mining as a few different analogies. Like, I view us as the Western Union of cryptocurrency. So we help you send money from point A to point B. and we take a fee in the middle. Another way to have an analogy of it is we are converting electricity into a digitized form of money, so that way that excess electricity on a grid can be sent financially to anywhere else on the planet. And so we're converting electricity into Litecoin and Bitcoin. We are brokering transactions. We are the server farm between the two buddies that say, hey, I want to send you $10, and there's a penny. The computer makes a penny, but that's our computer, so we make that penny. And so we're like the credit card processing company of crypto. But people don't say that because it's still such a new industry that the guys that really deeply understand it, they speak like a computer guy that really deeply understands it. And even me, I'm like, listen, I get it. There's an algorithm and a SHA-256. Let's talk at a practical level. What does it mean? And I think that we need more evangelists, so to speak, in the industry, talking in layman's terms. Hey, what is mining? This is what it is.
All that being said, I'm glad you said all. It's just such a wild, wild west industry, and it shouldn't be, but it is. How do you work your business with a servant's heart with all this crazy stuff on the media and all over the place? How do you do that?
So it's easier to give examples when you have lots of employees, right? We had many employees in our other businesses, and we could talk about the way that you lead teams and the encouragement, and which I believe encouragement is the number one thing that you can provide. But with our computers, it's more simple, which means it becomes a little bit harder to lead with a servant's heart. So we have a couple of full or part-time subcontractors that I get to lead like employees. Hey, you're paid for your performance, and you do that. But because they're with us full time, I can encourage them. And well, I'm probably too evangelistic in my Christ-based faith with them, but that's okay because they're subcontractors. If they don't like it, they can leave. So I don't have to worry about breaking employment law. Hey, listen, let me tell you about Jesus. So I bet one of my buddies, I said, look, come. If you read this ESV study Bible cover to cover and you don't think it's the most transformational thing you've read, I'll give you an Ethereum. And like, oh yeah. So now they're reading the Bible, and one way or the other, I think it's going to be a winner for them. Hey, either your life's changed or you got an Ethereum. And so I think things like that, just doing what we can to try and encourage people, to let them know, hey, look, you're going to make mistakes. I care deeply about our core values, right? And we've got three of them, and one of them is integrity. And so, look, as long as you operate with integrity, passion, savvy, right? Those are our core values. So if you're operating with those things, you're going to mess up. And, one of our guys came up to me and he says, listen, I feel bad. I've been working all day on this computer. I don't even have a single computer to get to work for it, and to be able to put my arm around and say, listen, bud, I have been there. I've done the same thing. I know exactly what you're going through. Some computers are easy to fix. Some aren't. So we'll get back up and we'll try it again tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get the thing running tomorrow. And to not berate them, and to not, I can't believe it. I gave you a KPI and I needed 99% hash rate, and I got 98.8 right now. Instead of that, just saying, listen, we're going to mess up, but I watched you work through lunch, work the whole day. You slaved away I'm really grateful to have you on the team. I think that's a different approach than lots of quote unquote bosses. And I think it goes a long ways with our team.
That's what's one of the best answers I've ever heard, Nathan. And from a unique perspective of employees, you do the exact same thing with customers, clients that you're going to eventually have, or investors or boards. Things are going to be great. Servant heart just works. Everybody loves that Christmas gift, being taken care of or bringing value. I love that. Who is the most influential for you to become a servant leader?
Specifically, I would say obviously I've got through marriage, I've got 3 moms and 3 dads. So you can't think, hey, these aren't the most influential for sure. But the guy that I heard servant leadership from first was Dr. Mark Rutland out of Southeastern University. I was there. He wrote books on it. He spoke about it over and over. He wrote a book, Character Matters, and he talked about servant leadership. And the theme of my senior year of my undergrad was servant leadership. And so he was 2-3 times a week. He's preaching at chapels. He's like, servant leadership. And so that would be one of my first experiences being inundated with that idea on a daily basis of, hey, look, you're not you're not going mush, let's work. You're saying, come follow me. And then relaying that to Jesus, right? Like Jesus didn't go up and say, Peter, go do this. He says, no, follow me while I do this, and just sit back and watch. And I'm going to show you how to do this. I think that learning those two things go hand in hand. Like the biblical component of leadership is servant leadership. I think that was pretty impactful for me as a 20-something-year-old, as an early 20s.
Yeah, Bible is the best leadership book out there. Just leave it at
That's
that. We're not going to politicize anything, but it's just thoughts, and that's so powerful. And I love that because, audience, you hear what he's got a degree in servant leadership. You've made it as a skill when you get a degree in it. A chemist, a biologist, a servant leadership person, degree. That's what your expertise in. I love that. I always like to make that point because people, they kind of flippant about servant leadership. No, you can now get a degree in it. That's how powerful it is, and so cool. We're coming to the end here. So let's just take crypto on its whole. What would you leave the audience that you want them to know about crypto?
I would say, and again, if I can use another analogy, I used to teach apologetics, which is the defense of the Christian faith. And so when I was teaching that, I would always say, look, if there is a 0.0001% chance that Christianity is real and that there is an eternity, which nobody can unprove, then the single most logical thing that any human being could do would be to pursue how to have the best eternity. If you can't disprove it, and that's a trillion years, and this is maybe 100, then we need to figure that one out as our highest ultimate priority. In the same way, financially, if it's possible that things like Bitcoin and Litecoin are even remotely what Michael Saylor, for example, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy, MSTR. Just watch his podcast for a few hours. If it's possible, even half of a fraction of a 1% chance that Bitcoin does what he thinks it's going to do, 10 million a coin pretty quickly, right? Or what Kathy Woods thinks Bitcoin's going to do, 750,000 in the next 2 years. Or some of these people that are watching that, if it's even remotely possible, then the single most important financial decision one could make would be to investigate those claims, learn and understand it, and determine if it might be Internet 2.0, if it might be as earth-shattering as the Internet. Then no other investment advice, no other Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, no company or firm could come close to touching what Bitcoin and Litecoin have the potential to do. So if it's possible, at least educate yourself, and set a timer. Say, hey, look, I'll give it 2 hours or I'll give it 30 hours. I would think that's probably more important by far than any single individual undergraduate class that I took. And that's 3 hours a week for 18 weeks. So maybe try that, and just to learn and understand it, because if it's possible, then it could be the most significant financial, educational undertaking of your life.
I love it. It's well said. It's such a cool way of talking about crypto. Not saying to buy it. You're not saying to do mini mines. It's like, just educate yourself.
Just look at it.
What a great guest you are. Just so humble, and the Lord's part of your life. I want to have some fun with you. We got a few minutes left. You ready to have some fun?
Let's go.
I'm going to dig deep here. I love asking this question. So you're going to a restaurant. You've got four chairs. You occupy one of them. Dead or alive, who are going to sit in those other 3 chairs, and why? And I think the most important question, what food would you order?
I would probably have, I know I would have Jesus and my wife, because my wife would be so mad if I got to meet Jesus person to person and not invite her. So
Great answer.
Jesus. So Jesus and my wife would be Jesus first, and then my wife would be the next seat. And then I would think it probably would be Charles Spurgeon. He has written more theological, deep content than I think anybody of the last 300 years, in my opinion. And I think he's the most authored or the most written person who's written more content than anybody else in the last few hundred years that is of any kind, let alone that is that deep theologically. So probably those would be my three chairs. And I would definitely be having if they have a big fat tomahawk ribeye, medium rare with a nice medium balanced red wine and maybe some shrimp on the side. I don't think it gets too much better than that.
You're the second tomahawk in the last 3 weeks, so I think tomahawk's my next meal. I love it. That's great. Love the tables too, and Jesus would be one of mine, definitely. How can people reach out to you? They want to learn more about crypto, learn more about mini minds. How can they find you?
Yeah, the easiest way is miniminds.com. But if you're okay with me sharing my cell, I'll give
Absolutely.
my cell. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Look, if you ever want somebody to talk your ear off about crypto, shoot me a text. We'll set up a meeting. I'll tell you all you want to know. And that's 863-602-1359. So that's my cell, and happy to talk Jesus, happy to talk shop, happy to talk work and business growth. I enjoy talking to people about those things, and of course, crypto.
And a true servant's heart educates like that for free. There's value to everything we do, but a lot of the time, a servant heart will give away their free IP because you know what? That's what it's all about. You'll still make money. You've proved you can still be successful. Doesn't matter. So thank you so much. You're a blessing, and please, people, reach out to him if you have any questions. If you don't, that's okay. Comment on the YouTube channel or on my podcast too. If he doesn't get it, I'll make sure he gets any messages you need.
Great.
I'll put this information in the show notes as well. Don't forget my TV show, Together We Serve, every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. And me and Nathan, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We really, really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.